Hi there, welcome. This is a more slow flow, whole brain typed practice, kind of soothing for the nervous system and also a little bit more rhythmical with breath and everything. So, welcome. It'll be about half an hour-ish, and we're going to start off in a nice seated position. So finding a comfortable seat for you. You can prop up if you like using a block or you have anything just to lift your hips a little higher than your knees. And we're actually going to start just coming into the breath and then working with some tapping to kind of balance out the energy and just, feel good before we start. So finding your long spine and closing down your eyes. And just acknowledging where your breath is to begin with. Not trying to force or change the breath at all, but become aware of how it is moving. Any areas that feel fluid and easeful, and any areas of your breath that might feel a little more restricted and tight. And you might like a few rounds just exhaling out the mouth. And then just finding 3 full breaths here. This time maybe in through the nose and out through the nose. And throughout the practice, keep coming back to a sense of rhythm with your breath. Beautiful. And after your third exhalation, gently opening the eyes. And we'll start with these 4 tapping points. Okay, so the first one, you can bring about 3 or 4 fingers just up onto the bony landmark under your eye. And then gently tapping here. This is actually the end of the stomach meridian. So when you're tapping, if it does feel too intense because you're right by your eyes, you can just hold or even just kind of lightly massage there. Otherwise, it's a gentle tap. You don't have to whack yourself. When we're doing the tapping, you can in through the nose and out through the mouth. Beautiful. Our second point, come down just below the collarbone. So you find the kind of bony ridge here, walk out to the little sticky outy points, and then drop down from there to the fleshy part underneath and tap from here. This is the end of the kidney meridian, And again, only tapping to where it feels comfortable for you. You can always hold the points or just tap a little lighter. Beautiful. Our next point on the thymus or the central meridian. So coming down from, we've got the 2 sticky uppy bits. It's a little circle here, coming down. And then just tapping in the center. So it's somewhat in the center of both nipples, down to the chest, top of the bar if you're wearing one. And again, if it's a sensitive spot, just don't tap as hard or just hold the point. And maybe it's a light massaging and rubbing. But more keep your focus on your breath. Keep your focus on you. Last point, over on the end of the spleen meridian this time. So create like little T-Rex arms. Just bring my hands in underneath. Or you can actually cross the hands over and tap like this, like you're giving yourself a hug. Otherwise, it's just out to the side. And again, somewhat just below the bottom of the bra strap or underneath the nipple and out to the side. Really where your hands can reach in this T-Rex type of position. Tapping once again. You can exhale out through the mouth. Beautiful, just a few more here. Wonderful. And then release your hands and just close down the eyes, noticing what there is to notice. Maybe the breath has slightly changed. Maybe you notice different sensations within your body. And seeing if you can find a rhythm with your breath. And throughout the practice, just keep coming back to this rhythm you're creating to find that sense of coherence within your breath, within your body. Take one more cycle of breath here. Beautiful. Okay, and then take a little side body stretch. So taking one hand out to the side, just wherever feels comfortable next to you. Reach the other arm up, and then just lengthening through that side. Now really up to you. You might like to play with turning the gaze up. You might turn it down right to the side. You'll just keep the head straight forward. So don't put any strain through your neck. It might be a matter of just exploring the gaze, drawing your shoulder back. And you may even like a little movement here by reaching this top arm down, lengthening forward, and then opening up. And again, exploring that length. You can even change where your hand is placed if it changes the sensation. And then just when you're ready, lifting up through center and take it over to the other side. Place that hand down, reach. And notice that you're not jamming into the shoulder when your hand comes down, that you're creating a little more space. Lengthening up again, playing with your gaze. Make sure your neck feels supported. And then you might start to explore a little more movement. Maybe you change the placement of your hand. And then when you're ready, coming back up. Voila. Let your hands rest down on your knees, and we're going to come into our seated moving mountain. So really about coordinating your movement with the breath. So on the inhale, we reach both arms up. And just to as high as where it feels comfortable for you. And then on your exhale, coming down. Now if that breath rhythm doesn't work for you, change it up, but do try and have something that feels coherent and rhythmical. And lowering down. So it might be that you exhale as you lift your arms and inhale down, or you might take a full cycle of breath each round. But once you find your rhythm, just settling into the movement, that may be with your eyes closed down or just a soft gaze towards the floor. Or you may even bring your eyes with you so they lift up as your hands lift and lower down. Just letting everything settle, finding your movement. And take one more like this, reaching up. Beautiful. Rest the hands once again, take a moment of pause. And you're welcome to close down the eyes or just keep a soft gaze, but try and keep a sense of internal awareness. So you're observing sensations and the quality of your breath as you're here. Beautiful. So we'll continue on, and this time adding a little more complexity to the movement. So as we lift up, one arm's going to stop at shoulder height and the other arm extends all the way up overhead. That's on your breath range here, and then lowering back down. And then we take it to the other side. So other arm reaches up and opposite arm stops at shoulder height, lowering down. It doesn't matter if you're doing the same left or right as me, but just trying to switch from side to side, reaching one arm up, and just make sure you're changing each time. So a little bit of whole brain work here when we change from side to side. So try and keep that focus, keep your breath, and then just let your gaze settle. And you might try it with your eyes closed down. Notice how that feels. And let's take one more to each side. And then finishing there, pausing. Once again, you can close the eyes or soften your gaze. And I just invite you to notice the quality of your breath and the quality of the sensations. Maybe you feel sensation around the shoulders, the side body. Beautiful. And now as you're ready, we'll make our way into a child's pose. So, still trying to keep that sense of internal gaze and awareness as you make your way off of the props and towards child's pose. And in your child's pose, you might have your knees apart, together, whatever feels more comfortable for you, or you might even prefer just to sit upright if this feels more supportive, or you can use any other props you've got to support under the heels, buttocks, anything else. Otherwise, as you come down, just let your head rest. You might let your arms rest for a moment. And staying on your child's pose for a few rounds of breath, bringing the awareness of your breath to the back of your body. So as if you're breathing into the back of your ribs. And just through this intention, we're really creating more space into the back body. So noticing if you're able to feel your breath in the back of your ribs. So you inhale, that expansion, a sense of exhale, softening, coming forward. Take 3 more breaths here. And then after your third exhalation, lifting up, and we'll find a tabletop position here. Now if you do like a little more support under your knees, feel free to bring in a blanket or anything you've got. But setting up with your hands where it feels comfortable in a moment, just to shift forward and back. And as you're doing this, start to find the toning of your lower belly. So as if you're picking up belly button to spine, gently drawing it in. And just look for this shifting forward and back. Notice how the weight is falling. And especially in this style of practice, can you move a little slower and even make the movement smaller? Right? So you're able to notice how the body changes. What is going on in the more subtle levels of your being? Beautiful. So our next movement will be from tabletop into child's pose. So keeping the hands where they are, we start to sink back, just bending your elbows. So I'll keep this bend in my arms, come down to this variation of child's pose. And then with my breath picking up, a little bit like I'm being pulled from my shoulder blades, round forward towards this tabletop. I might even play with a little bit of movement through the spine, like a cat-cow type action, as you move forward and back from this version of child's pose up into your tabletop position. And then just moving with your breath once again. So really important, and what's really soothing for the nervous system is actually coordinating the breath and movement together. And it's not a forced action. It's super important to find your own natural breath rhythm. And then in a way enjoy it. Enjoy the breath with movement. It becomes very meditative. So you can stay like this, just moving from child's pose to tabletop, or we're going to add on downward facing dog as well. You still come back, child's pose, tabletop, option to tuck the toes, lift up, keep a nice bend in your knees, find your down dog, and then we ripple forward, knees down, moment of tabletop, and then child's pose. And start to find this with your breath. So lifting up from the lower belly. So there is this sense of toning through your lower belly and moving from the center of your body, from your core, right? The core being this whole center line. And do find a pace that works for you. You might challenge yourself to go a little bit slower, but sometimes that's not what you need. So it's also about really listening to where your body is, what you'd like to do. Just taking about 3 more rounds like this. And then your option, you might prefer to meet in a child's pose, or you can meet in a downward facing dog. Okay, as you're ready, maybe just adjust the length if you'd like to with your hands, and just any movement, pedaling out through the feet. Anything that feels good in your shape, explore your down dog. How does it feel? Take about 3 to 5 breaths here, just holding downward facing dog. Again, it's always your option to come back into a child's pose if you prefer. One more breath here. And then rising up onto the toes, starting to make your way to the top of your mat. And into a standing forward fold. Option to have those feet a little wider, can feel nice. And again, it's quite nice for your nervous system to have the feet wider. You might like elbows resting on the knees. If you have blocks, it can be nice to have your hands on blocks. Let the head be heavy if that feels comfortable. Option is to always take it a little further by clasping opposite elbows and bringing your weight down, just if that's comfortable. If you feel a tension or a pulling through your lower back, then I really recommend lifting up higher and being here for a little longer, just to support your body for where it needs to be. And then we'll press down through the feet, find the sense of pulling apart lightly so you find as much control. You can always also bring your hands so you walk yourself all the way up. Shoulders rolling back and down. Your arms welcome to reach up. And hands through heart center. Okay. And then just pausing at the top of your mat. And grounding down through the feet. Might give your legs a little jiggle or even a slight bounce through the knees and your shoulders. And just let that release for a moment. And our next movement, we're going to come from our standing Tadasana into Malasana. So it's likely you'll want to bring your feet out a little wider. If you know that your legs and ankles are quite tight, you can get a blanket or a towel, something like that, or even inside of your mat, and just roll it up so you lift your heels a little bit. Just allows the movement up and down to be slightly smoother. Otherwise, staying here, you can bring your hands into heart center. And then we're going to start to bend the knees, sink down. And you might only come to here. You don't have to come all the way down. Seeing how far you can go. Sink down. And then fingertips to the floor, let your head drop and then start to reach your hips up. Again, only going as far as you'd like to with your knees bent. Then press down through your feet, drawing in. So active feet, draw the belly in, reach the arms up. Bring your hands down through heart center, bend the knees, our Malasana coming down into our squat. Just going as far as you'd like to. Fingertips can come to the floor. Start to lift your hips. Just to a place where it feels comfortable and stable. Then press down through your feet. Curl all the way up. And be creative. Play with the nuances if your body doesn't quite do that. See how you can make it work. Okay, you don't have to come down as far. And explore this lowering and lifting and squeezing into the center. Drop the head at one point. Lift the hips, press down through the feet. Come all the way up. Let's take 2 more rounds like this. Can you coordinate it with your breath? One more down. And all the way up. Hands back through. Release the hands for a moment. You can adjust your feet to feel more comfortable. And either closing down the eyes or just softening your gaze to the floor. Noticing how that feels, maybe through the legs, the hips, your back. Beautiful. Then as you're ready, opening your eyes, and we're going to step out a little bit wider. Okay, to take this more into a wide-legged forward fold. So it doesn't have to be your widest stance. You want to feel somewhat comfortable here. I'm going to use the hands on the legs for this one. So we're going to be coming into the fold, lifting back up. So hands can start up on your hips. Take a nice big breath. Bring a bend into your knees as much as you need. Lead with the chest, draw belly in, and then start to fold. Let your hands slide down your legs. And then on your breath, inhale it might be, rising all the way up, let the hands come up the legs. Might even bring your hands to your hips, lift the chest at the top. And then curling down, soft bend through the knees as you lower. Take your legs as straight as you would like them, no force. Reaching back up, draw belly in, nice controlled movement. Again, hands might come to hips, lift the chest. 2 more like this, coming down. Going to hold on our last one. And all the way up. Lift the chest. This time we're going to come down and hold at the bottom. So leading with your chest, drawing belly in, come all the way forward. And at the bottom you might keep your hands on your ankles or just release them to the floor. If you do need it, bring some blocks in or anything else you can place your hands on if you need like just a little bit more height here. And then we'll add a twist. So you might also like this block. And we're going to take one hand into the center, press down through the hand, and then using your opposite hand, opening out the chest. Reach up. Again, bring as much bend as you'd like to into your knees. And this arm, if it puts a lot of strain in your top shoulder, just keep the arm out to the side or at your hip. You don't have to take it up towards the ceiling. Top arm comes down, change it over, and then take your variation to the other side. Beautiful, bring it down. You can remove your block. Let's take the hands back to the ankles and come all the way up to the top once again. This time, turning your feet, let's step to the top of the mat or anywhere you'd like really and take a little shake out. That moment of pause, maybe with soft knees, noticing your breath, noticing the sensations in your body. Beautiful, and we're going to step back. Now if you do have quite tight hips, you might like some blocks here, and you also might like to have a little padding for the back knee. As you're ready, reach your arms up. And then let the hands come down, let's forward fold, bending the knees, tilt forward. And with a halfway lift, take your hands to your shins, lengthen. Bending the knees, we're going to step the left foot back and place your left knee down. And adjust your hands so they come to the inside line of your right foot. And I'm going to walk my right foot over a little more to find my lizard lunge here. Now you only want to come down as far as feels comfortable for you. So you can see if I go all the way down, it's going to give me more sensation up here. But my lizard lunge might be right here or here. Okay, this is totally fine. Just adapt for where your body is at. You don't want to be too much strain. And then you might like to bring in some blocks if you've got them, so that you can come down onto your elbows and be in this pose. And we're just going to stay for about 5 to 10 breaths. Might even find a little gentle movement, moving side to side, easing into it. But make sure you're not completely at the end range of your flexibility and that you can't breathe anymore. In fact, it's better to ease back and find a sense of squeezing in, like the thighs are squeezing in toward each other. And just 3 more full breaths here. After your third exhalation, lifting up, blocks can come out to the side. And then a moment, you might enjoy just drawing yourself back slightly, having that right leg a little more towards straight. Again, doesn't have to be depending on your flexibility, but finding some movement forward and back. Beautiful. And then sinking back into that front knee, toe heeling your right foot in, framing the foot, tuck your back toes, lifting up, and step back to the top of your mat. So you'll be in that sense of forward fold once again. Press down through your feet and curl all the way up to the top. You might like to reach the arms and hands through heart center. Beautiful. Taking it to the opposite side, reach up. Forward fold. Hands can come down through heart center, bending at the knees. And then a halfway lift, hands to your shins. Bend the knees to bring your hands to the floor. This time step your right foot back and let your right knee come down. Okay? I'm going to take my hands to the inside of the left foot and then adjust my foot out to the side, finding your lizard lunge shape. Again, doesn't have to be as wide and open. You might walk this foot back. Can be right here. If that's where you feel strong and stable, go for it. Super important to feel stable in the pose, so you're not that whole extending to your end range where you can't actually maintain the structure or integrity of the pose, and that you're still able to breathe. So it's definitely never an act of force in yoga, but finding a place you can sit in and actually be here with your breath. So finding your shape. If you need anything underneath your back knee, go for it. And take 3 more breaths here. And then lifting up. Out of the pose, you can take the blocks to either side. It's a little bit of movement, so being curious, explore where you are, shifting forward and back. Again, doesn't have to be a huge movement. Just how you might just be here, just sort of easing out of it. Small and subtle, always be better, but exploring what's there for you. Beautiful. And then this time, we're actually going to step back to a downward facing dog. So you can wriggle that foot out, or you can bring it in towards the center if it helps. Press down through your hands and step your way back. However that happens, to downward facing dog. And just a little moment, walking out the feet. And then we'll make our way down onto the belly. So as you come forward, it might be towards a high plank. Let your knees come down. With control, slowly lower yourself all the way down to the mat. Okay, come into a Sphinx pose. Now before we lift into the spinal extension, take a moment with the head down to lift one leg at a time and just find a little more length across the front of your hips. And then walking your hands in for Sphinx. Elbows can be under the shoulders, but it's very dependent on how much spinal extension or back bend you'd like. So if I bring my hands in more, I've got more of a back bend. If I want less, I take them out in front. So modify for how your back is feeling right now. And really think about keeping activity, so pressing to the tops of the feet. Keep the legs active, lengthening out through the crown of the head. And then once you find that shape, sense of toning through lower belly, just noticing your breath, pausing here. Again, you might even close down the eyes. Two more breaths here. And gently sliding the arms out of the way, you can make a nice pillow for your head. And in a moment just to either jiggle the hips, or you may like to bend the knees and crisscross your ankles over each other. Beautiful. Slowing that down. And this last little bit of back work, bring your arms out beside you like cactus arms, head down. We're going to keep the feet down through this, so pressing into the tops of the feet so they're active. And with your breath, inhale, see if you can lift up. Try and keep the back of the neck long. Exhale with control, lower down. Continue like that, lifting up and lowering down. Inhale, rise, and exhale, lower. Two more rounds like this. Beautiful, coming down. And again, make this little pillow for your head. Either pausing here or bend the knees. You can crisscross the ankles again, or you can let both legs drop side to side. See what feels better for you. Beautiful, and just as you're ready, make your way back to child's pose. Moment here, sink the hips. And then lifting up and make your way over onto your back. So you can sweep the feet or cross your ankles, bring the legs out in front, and then coming down onto your back. So as much control as you've got, make your way down. Feet in beside you, roll the shoulders back, and let's take our right ankle onto the left knee, or just one ankle onto a knee. Pausing here for a moment as you press the right knee away. Think of the opening of the front of the hip. And then gently draw that left knee in, and you might hold here, flexing both feet. And again, it could be gently exploring movement side to side, keeping an active shape to begin with. In your option, you might like to add the hands interlacing for our number 4 pose here. Take my right hand through the gap, interlace the fingers, and then just pause. As you're gently drawing in here, not forcing, but keeping that rhythm with your breath. Just noticing as you breathe. And take 3 full breaths here. Wonderful. Release your hands. And now if you'd like to, keep the shape as it is, but start to take the legs over towards the left side. Okay? And stay in that same shape. And it might be that your right foot comes to the floor, and you can place your left hand onto your right foot. And then I'm just going to gently press that right knee away from me. Right arm comes out, and I can turn my gaze over my right shoulder, or just keep it up towards the ceiling. And taking 3 breaths here. And then gently coming back through center. Take that to the other side. Left ankle now comes onto my right knee. Start off just by pressing away, holding here, pressing and lengthening the front. And then option to draw that right knee in, flexing both feet. Maybe a moment just to draw side to side as I press that left knee away. An option to interlace your hands and draw the right knee in a little closer. And then releasing from here, we'll take it into that twist. So the shape of the legs comes over as I compete with the rain. And left foot to the floor, my right hand takes hold of the left foot. Left arm reaches out. A little twist, pressing that knee away. One more breath here. And then I'll come back through center. Release your feet. You might like just to drop knees side to side. Or maybe shake the legs and the arms out. And then just any final little movements here before extending into Shavasana. So legs out long. Rolling the shoulders back. And if this position isn't comfortable, just finding any other position in Shavasana that works for you. As we take these last few moments of the practice, just to close the eyes, assimilate, and let everything ground, letting it go. Shavasana. And then gently starting to bring your awareness back to your breath. Gently wriggling into the fingers and the toes. Take a moment to stretch out through your body. And then as you're ready, coming over to one side. And making your way up. Back to a seat where we started. Just take a moment acknowledging or an acknowledgement of yourself for practicing, taking this time. I thank you for joining me. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and namaste.